Yo, what is going on, guys? It's C-Brev. Welcome to another MLB The Show 19 card review. Today I'm going to be going over 97 overall finest Charlie Morton. This card is obtainable as a 200-star reward for the 9th inning program, or you can buy him off the marketplace. He's currently selling for around 30,000 stubs. So I was very pleasantly surprised with this card, and not for the reasons that I thought I would be. When I first saw this card, I thought he might be pretty bad. Mostly because curveball primaries usually don't work out too well unless they're hard curveballs, which turned out to be true. But his other secondary pitches were actually insanely good. So I'm just going to kind of do a longer breakdown like I do with pitchers more recently, just to kind of give you some perspective. I remember reading a specific comment about someone liking Bert Blyleven and wondering if this card was similar to him because of the curveball primary, and I would say no, this card is not similar to Bert Blyleven, and the curveball, despite being the primary pitch, is not one that you should be throwing very often. It's more of an Adam Wainwright curveball, if I was to describe it, what it's similar to. It has a ton of movement, which is a gift and a curse, because usually you want your primary pitch to be able to throw for strikes consistently. It's very tough to throw this curveball for strikes between the lack of control and just how much movement it has. You could even try to put it a little off the corner, more towards the middle of the plate, and sometimes you'll just miss. It's just hard to throw the curveball for strikes. Much better to throw the curveball when you're ahead in the count and you can get swings and misses or foul balls and stuff like that. So in general, the way I pitched with this card was a lot of two-seam fastballs and a lot of sliders. I think the slider is this card's best pitch. The slider has way more movement than I thought it would. You'll see in the clips I use classic pitching, and so you can see the arrows, which actually show you how much it moves. His slider has a ton more movement than I was ever expecting from a card like this, and it's by far his best pitch. So I was throwing it a ton, and I was also throwing the two-seamer a lot more than the four-seamer. He actually surprisingly has really bad control over his four-seamer, worse control than he does over his two-seamer. I don't know why, but even on pitches where I was hitting the analog perfectly, he would still throw it a lot higher sometimes than I had aimed it. Just seemed like in general he didn't have good control over that four-seamer, but it does hit 99, so it's a good change of speeds because the two-seamer is slightly slower, which is always good for getting left-handed hitters out. As far as the splitter, kind of a throwaway pitch, not to be used too often. He's really good at hanging it directionally. I'm going to coin that term myself. Just made it up. But I would consistently try to throw it low and on the corner, regardless if it was inside or outside. He would always leave it low and in the middle. So he would leave it horizontally hanging. I'm stupid and have to stop. But yeah, so really two-seamer, slider, curveball, you're going to be just fine with this card, and all of those pitches are very good. Just make sure you're throwing strikes. Try to get ahead in the count, because if you're behind in the count with this card, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. One final thing to note about this card is that the 105 stamina is actually pretty low compared to other options in the game. I talked about this in my James Paxton review, so just keep in mind that this card isn't going to go very deep into games for you if your opponents are working the count very well. Most signature series pitchers have at least 115 stamina, so 105 stamina means he's going to get tired pretty quickly, so make sure you're being efficient. My advice would be to just pound the zone with this card, and if you get beat up, you get beat up. But overall, I think it's a pretty good card. In the tier list I just released, he is a tier 2 starter in my opinion, comparable to someone like Madison Bumgarner and the 92 Oral Hershiser. More than usable in a competitive sense, and actually pretty fun to pitch with. I also think that his delivery is pretty easy to use as well, very simple motion, similar to Adam Wainwright's. So as always, we'll rate the card how he rates in the meta, and we'll rate him compared to how much he costs. How he rates in the meta, I'll give him a B+. Like I said, probably tier 2, but still very good. And for the price, I'll give him an A, because finding good starting pitchers in this game is actually pretty expensive. Like, good starting pitchers are some of the most expensive cards on the market compared to everything else. So I think 30K is more than reasonable for this card, and if you're looking at picking him up, 30K is definitely worth it. So I hope you all enjoyed this card review. Let me know down in the comment section below who you want me to review next. Enjoy the clips after this, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.
Here with two gone, and in steps the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. And this is up and in, ball one. One ball, one strike, the count. Bases are empty here with 2 men out. Swing. And it's fouled away. And next will be the cleanup hitter, Ken Griffey Jr. He was a ground out victim last time up. And that's cut on and missed 0-1.
Well, that was a big 2-out single we just saw, and for pretty obvious reasons. The inning went from totally under control to now. He's got to deal with some dangerous hitters here with a runner on base, and this is how 2-out rallies start.
1-2, here it comes. And here's a slider that runs inside that time, and that'll keep him from diving out over the plate.
He's got to find a way to.
And Woody here with 2 gone, and in steps Big Frank. Here's a curveball that runs outside. It's ball 1. 1-0 pitch is a slider, swung on and missed. 1-1. The 1-1. Count moves to a ball and 2 strikes now. The 1-2 is taken for ball 2. And that's taken high for a ball. It's full now. 3-2. Now the payoff pitch home is swung on, and Frank Thomas, he's set to lead us off in the home half of the 4th inning.
Things not looking very good so far in this one, but we're still in the middle innings. They're down by a couple of runs, and this would be the right place and the right time to get something going. The last thing they want to do is to try to come from behind and win this one in the 8th or 9th inning.
Think he held up in time, but that becomes moot as it's a called strike 2.
So far in this game, he's the only guy in the lineup that's gone down on strikes.